And anyway, war would be very bad for business. Wilson kept the United States prepared but neutral for 2 more years. The sinking of the Lusitania was terrible, but that didn't seem reason enough to throw away more lives and profits by joining in a distant war. Germany's policy in America after sinking the Lusitania was complex. She kept her U-boats in check, but not her spies. In 1916, German agents blew up Black Tom Island, a loading depot in New York Harbor. It held 900 tons of ammunition destined for the Allies.
Several thousand persons lined the seawall and acquired a real picture of what the firing line in the European war looks like. The water line was one mass of red glare.
The explosions were so strong, they were felt in Philadelphia, 90 miles away. German agents slipped bombs onto ships in American ports. There were several assassination attempts, and even a bomb planted in the US Capitol.
German agents are everywhere. Extraordinary measures of precaution have now become necessary in all the arms factories, at the docks and on board vessels, even vessels of the United States Navy.
Hard evidence tying Germany to espionage operations against America came from one of the spies himself. Heinrich Albert left his briefcase on New York's elevated railway. It held documents proving the German embassy was bankrolling the sabotage. 2 senior diplomats, including Franz von Papen, Hitler's future vice-chancellor, were expelled. But nothing got in the way of business on the New York Stock Exchange. When Germany won a battle, Allied stocks fell. When Britain won, her shares rose. American investors were betting on the war. For British Cabinet Minister David Lloyd George, there was a direct connection between battle and bank.
Success means credit. Financiers never hesitate to lend to a prosperous concern.
France and Russia paid for the war by borrowing from Britain. Britain, in turn, raised money on the American stock market through her Wall Street bankers, J.P. Morgan. It was spent buying American armaments, American supplies. Of all the money raised in America to pay for the war, 99% went to Britain and the Allies. It was something that made many Germans wonder just how neutral America really was.
30th of January 1916. In financial circles, it is openly said that England has won the war already, and every day that it goes on after March can only make the ruin of Germany completer, no matter what her military successes may be.
America lent so much that by the end of 1916, the central bank warned that people were betting too heavily on Britain. If the Allies lost, they might never get their money back. The mere thought that American cash might be backing the wrong side wiped $1 billion off Allied stocks in a week. Germany's generals felt the odds were stacking up against them. They grew impatient at hesitant politicians tying their hands.
In view of the military situation, we must lose no time in adopting the measure of torpedoing armed enemy merchantmen without notice. The Entente are continuing the war with all the resources at their disposal.
Our ambassador prophesies war with America if we persist in our intention of torpedoing armed merchantmen without warning. The Kaiser wrote in the margin of the report, "I do not care."
The Kaiser didn't care because of some key German calculations. His generals gambled that if America joined the Allies, she would not have a decisive impact on the fighting in Europe until 1919. Long before then, the U-boat campaign would have brought Britain and France to their knees. One thing stayed Germany's hand. In December 1916, she put out a peace feeler to the Allies, believing she could hold on to her gains. The French and British leaders met in Paris and rejected the offer. Germany now staked everything on a new submarine campaign. U-boats would sink all ships on sight without warning.
February the 2nd is a special and uplifting day for us Germans, the beginning of the all-out submarine war. We're all holding our breaths and hoping that with this radical medicine, we will finally cure England of her arrogance and secure a quick peace, the terms of which we will dictate.
In April 1917, Germany sunk over 800,000 tons, causing panic at the British Admiralty. But Germany didn't have enough U-boats to sustain the success, and Allied ships were getting better at protecting themselves. Merchant ships now travelled not singly, but in convoy, with more destroyers to protect them. Airships and aeroplanes scouted overhead, looking for the telltale signs of submarines lying in wait. 63 U-boats were sunk in 1917, 3 times the losses of the previous year. One captured U-boat was put on display in London. 13,000 people paid to view it on the first day. Its German sailors couldn't believe the contrast between the Allied home front and their own.
We remained in Dover for 2.5 days, and we were plentifully supplied with food, drink and smokes, for you notice nothing of the war here. There are no wooden soles or bicycles with wooden tyres, and the butcher's shops have rows and rows of pigs hanging up. There is no prospect of starving England. I am glad, for the war is over for me.
The second U-boat campaign was a double failure. It didn't deliver militarily. German submarines could not sink enough Allied ships to make a difference. And it was a diplomatic disaster, pushing America to the very brink of war. The final shove came from the men in room 40. On the 16th of January 1917, Britain intercepted a coded telegram from German Foreign Secretary Zimmermann to his ambassador in Mexico City. The Zimmermann telegram was made up of 1,000 numerical code groups. It took 2 weeks to decipher. And as the meaning emerged, the men in room 40 realized they were holding the most extraordinary intelligence of the war. Destined for the Mexican government, the telegram outlined Germany's plan for Mexico to invade the United States.
We make Mexico a proposal of alliance with an understanding on our part that Mexico is to reconquer Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. The settlement in detail is left to you.
Zimmermann's scheme was harebrained. Mexico was in the middle of a revolution. US troops were already fighting bandits on the border. There was no way the Mexican government wanted more trouble. But Germany's proposal was a godsend to Britain. It was just what she needed to end America's neutrality. 2 weeks into the U-boat campaign, Britain called the US ambassador to the Foreign Office and passed over the Zimmermann telegram. It was, said Britain's Foreign Secretary, as dramatic a moment as I remember in all my life. On the 2nd of April, President Wilson went to the capital. The United States had not declared war when the Lusitania went down. It had not declared war when spies blew up its shipyards. But Germany urging Mexico to attack America was in a different league. On the 6th of April 1917, the United States declared war against Germany.
3,000 miles from home, an American army is fighting for you. Everything you hold worthwhile is at stake. Only the hardest blows can win against the enemy we are fighting. Invoking the spirit of our forefathers, the Army asks your unflinching support to the end that the high ideals for which America stands may endure upon the earth.
For 3 years, the country had played the war's banker and supplier. Now, as far as President Wilson was concerned, America was fighting a crusade for international justice and democracy. The North Sea would remain dead until the very end. The Germans now set themselves a desperate task: to win the war before American troops arrived in force. And President Wilson's liberal crusade would be up against new ideas of socialism and revolution. In the next episode of the First World War, German spies sow rebellion in Ireland and Russia, and French troops mutiny on the Western Front, a war against war itself.